are a circuit that has been virtually unchanged throughout its history, just outside Alton, Virginia, on the North Carolina-Virginia border. 17 corners, just over 3¼ miles. Turn 1, always a good place to do some overtaking. Also into what used to be the oak, and still the oak tree turn, just the oak tree isn't there anymore after a big thunderstorm and a lightning strike a few years ago. The most important turn, maybe the final one, the hog pen, down at turn 17, where you get the run onto the straight. It'll be Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw taking you through this one, and Jeremy Shaw has the grid.
This is round 8 of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo for 2018. 14 cars on the starting grid, 4 categories of drivers. Starting from the back, row 7, 2 LB Cup contenders, newcomers, relative newcomers to the sport. In the 14th position on the grid, car number 88 for US Racetronics, that is Paris Mullins. Alongside him, Justin Price, car number 21 for Dream Racing Motorsport. Row 6 of the grid is 2 AM class cars. Martin Barkey in car number 67 for PPM, and for Wayne Taylor Racing in car number 33 is Cameron Castles. Row 5 of the grid is the LB Cup pole sitter for the very first time, Sheena Monk in car number 7 for Wayne Taylor Racing. Alongside her, the AM contender Brian Thenis in car number 17 for US Racetronics. He won his first race of the season yesterday. Row 4 of the grid, 2 more AM class cars. Damon Oakey, who is the championship leader in car number 09 for US Racetronics, and a pole sitter in AM, 7th on the grid overall, Ryan Hardwick for Dream Racing Motorsport in car number 2. Row 3 is all Pro-Am, car number 10 for Wayne Taylor Racing, started by Stephen McAleer, and yesterday's winner in the category, JC Perez in car number 71 for P1 Motorsports. The front of the grid, top 4 cars are all Pro category contenders. Car number 46, Brandon Godovic from Virginia for PPM in car number 46. Alongside him, yesterday's overall race winner, Taylor Proto in car number 50 for US Racetronics. The front row of the grid, Wayne Taylor Racing's car number 1 will be started by Jonathan Chicotto, and on the pole position for the 4th time in his Lamborghini Super Trofeo career, but the first time, incredibly, since right here at VIR in 2014 for Change Racing in car number 29, representing the Charlotte Lamborghini dealership, is Corey Lewis.
Thank you, Jeremy Shaw, for taking us through the grid for today's race. Round 2 of the championship this weekend at Virginia International Raceway. I think we might just get to see some different winners. Cars are perfectly lined up, 2 by 2, with 14 Lamborghinis on the grid. That gives us 7 rows, and the lights are out on the Lamborghini safety car. If we see it again, and we hope we don't, it will be the safety car. It was pacing us around that time. Corey Lewis, the pole sitter in the number 29 Change Racing Lamborghini, the white one with the gold bull on the side. Corey Lewis loves this track. It was the one that he circled in a red marker several times when he got the calendar and found out that he was going to be racing in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. This is his opportunity to make a break at the start. They're coming around out of the final turn. They'll be able to see the green flag in the air, just waiting for the command to be given, though, to be set free. Unleash the bulls as we go racing in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series for 50 minutes. Corey Lewis with a great start and manages to hold off Jonathan Chicotto in the number 1. Jonathan dropping back already into the clutches of the number 50, Taylor Proto, and the 46 of Brandon Godovic. Corey with enough of a lead through the first turn that he doesn't have to worry about somebody coming up and hitting him from behind, and everyone, Jeremy, making it safely through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, car number 46 in 4th position, Brandon Godovic, thought about trying to go around the outside for turn 1 to get him the inside for 2 and 3. Wasn't able to pull that off, so settles back there into 4th position. Great start from Corey Lewis.
He made the move in his head. He just didn't make the move on the track. Yes, we can see from the body language.
Discretion, the better part of valor there, definitely.
Very much so. 50-minute race. You don't want to throw it away in the first 30 seconds, especially given that this is a championship. We're getting toward the second half of the season. They're coming through in a line, going up the S's for the first time in this race contest. JC Perez ahead of Stephen McAleer off the start in the Pro-Am category, and Ryan Hardwick, who led from pole in the number 2, trying hard to fight off Damon Oki, but Damon Oki able to get around Hardwick in that early change around. 4 classes of cars, Pro, Pro-Am, Am, and LB Cup. They are all the same machinery. Those we have a huge coming together coming out of Oak Tree. That is the number 67 of Martin Barkey, who's turned around on driver's left exiting Oak Tree. He is the only one who did not manage to continue around.
Not so sure that Damon Oki wasn't involved in that. I think perhaps Sheena Monk as well, the LB Cup leader.
Well, Martin Barkey gets it fired back up and pointed in the right direction. His right-hand mirror is pushed askew. It's aiming back into the car. That won't do him much good. And let's see what happened. Oki made it through. Barkey might have gotten some help there from a white Lamborghini. I think that's possibly Paris Mullins, maybe? Was it Sheena?
I think so.
Yeah. He'll need to come into the pit lane. There's a bit of damage to the right-hand side of that car, and along with the mirror, but the floorboard is dragging underneath the passenger door. So the 67, which got its first podium yesterday, was very impressive, finishing second in the race, will need to make a trip down the pit lane, and the incident involving car number 67 is under review, but Martin Barkey stays out, at least for now. He reckons he doesn't need to see out the right side of his car, so he'll just keep going. The Canadian, who got a lot of racing experience yesterday with 2 endurance races under his belt, getting the opportunity to start today's race. It will be Shea Holbrook who takes over from him to finish. Corey Lewis, who is making hay while the sun shines, quite literally, as it was raining yesterday for part of the race, is enjoying driving around in conditions that are ideal for the 620-plus horsepower Lamborghini, as Taylor Proto goes off the track, drops 2 wheels, and then goes for a spin.
Yeah, he was a race winner yesterday. A brilliant drive by the youngster from England yesterday, but all went wrong a little bit there. Carried a bit too much speed into the first part of that double apex right-hander, got on the grass, and then probably fought a little bit too hard to try and get it under control again, and ended up spinning the car, so that's going to cost him a lot of ground.
Jeremy was taking the rain line through turn 11. He missed the apex completely, then dropped the 2 left-hand Pirellis off the side of the track, which wound up spinning him around as he was trying to regain control of the car. He rejoins back down by the LB Cup contenders. He's going to have a lot of ground to make up if we're going to have a repeat win for the number 50.
Yeah, that's right, and that's a shame for Taylor. It's his first mistake I can remember him making this season. He's had a really, really good year, just his second year of racing, and he's come on so much. I mean, just done a fantastic job. The championship leader coming into this round as a result of that win yesterday for himself and Eduardo Piscopo, but this will cost him some ground and allow the car of Corey Lewis and Madison Snow that's leading this race, that car number 29 for Change Racing, a potential here to perhaps even regain the championship lead.
And this is exactly what they want to see, Jeremy, because it now takes their championship rivals, well, everyone in the pro class really is still in with a shot realistically, but the people that they were fighting tooth and nail against are Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo. They came out of the race yesterday, as you said, with the lead, but for Corey Lewis and Madison Snow, getting the pole position yesterday means that they've got a little bit of an advantage, because now they've got that extra point. They can take that momentum forward and try to hope to replicate getting a win for themselves, doing what the 50 did yesterday. But now the other 2 cars are on the podium, so the 50 scores fewer points, if you see what I mean. They've sort of inverted and then benefited even more the positions from yesterday. So Corey Lewis, who won't know any of this because I'm sure the team is telling him absolutely nothing on the radio right now except go fast and you're doing a good job. He'll be happy to see that once he gets out of the number 29 machine.
Yeah, doing as you say, relishing the opportunity to come here. He's won here before at VIR in these cars. It's just a glorious racetrack, and he absolutely loves it here. Plus, of course, carrying the dealership colours from Change Racing and Charlotte at Lamborghini. Switch there for the Change Racing team. They were representing Carolina's dealership. Now switched that to Charlotte. Whichever it is, neither of them is based too far from here at VIR. We're right on the border of Virginia and North Carolina, so there's a lot of support here for that Lamborghini dealership here this weekend.
Corey with his bright green helmet shining through the window on the passenger side glass as he is looking ahead. Jonathan Cicotto still behind, but about a second gap now between first and second. And Taylor Brodo, putting his head down after making that very uncharacteristic early mistake, goes fastest overall through Sector 1, but it is Corey Lewis who's turned the afterburners up, and he does the fastest lap of the race the last time through. We're still early on in. We're only 6 minutes elapsed in the race so far, but just seeing the relative pace of the drivers early on, and keep in mind, these drivers in the Pro and the Pro-Am class, you're not allowed to do the race alone. So they have to get out of the car when the pit window opens and hand it over to a co-driver. For the race result that you're looking for, you don't want to burn the tires off during your stint because you want your co-driver to still have something left to fight off the competition.
Indeed so, and yesterday's race was particularly interesting from that aspect because it started off in the wet and then dried out, and
yes,
most of the teams changed tyres during the race, so you're running on slicks at the end. That was definitely the right call, but several teams, for various reasons, decided not to do so. So today there shouldn't be any tyre changes required. They can just stay on the same tyres all the way through. That's good news for everybody. No difficult decisions need to be made, but some good battling down the field.
Oh, wow, and there is a battle developing. I believe that's Cameron Castles catching up to the back of Justin Price in the number 21 Lamborghini, the LB Cup leader, the blue and black car in the foreground, more of a turquoise. The blue and black, but more of a Darth Vader looking car. That would be the number 3 of Cameron Castles. He looks like one of the really important stormtroopers that doesn't get to wear the white. Sheena Monk and Paris Mullins not too far behind either. So Paris Mullins will really be hoping that Cameron Castles is able to slow down Justin so that Paris can then have a go at the LB Cup lead. Stephen McAleer has gotten around JC Perez of note, the number 10 car now leading the 71. Both of them are in the Pro Championship, and they're both going for the Pro Championship. Stephen McAleer and his co-driver Randy Soleri missed a round of the championship, but because of the way that the point scheme works, if you don't finish a race, you score 0 points. So if the 71 car, for whatever reason, doesn't finish one more race this year, it effectively gives McAleer and Soleri a real shot at it.
And Soleri did a really good job yesterday.
Yes, he did.
He has virtually no experience. He's just done one race weekend prior to coming here to VIR. He was certainly off the pace in qualifying yesterday, but in the wet conditions, he was really going well. I saw him this morning, and he was still beaming. He had a great time yesterday. Both he and his protege, Sheena Monk, who also had a good run yesterday. Unfortunately, her team decided not to change tyres, so she was stuck on wets for the closing stages of the race, unable to challenge for the win there. But it was a good result also for her, so both of those two running very, very well this weekend.
Martin Barkey is still circulating in his slightly injured number 67 Lamborghini. There's a good deal of damage to the passenger's side of that car. It's hard to see because the livery is so brilliant with the shading and stuff. It almost makes it look like it's okay, but if you look really hard, you'll notice that there is a big triangular dent sticking out where it shouldn't be. So for Martin, he'll be able to see that, but his mirror popped back out in the right direction at least. So on the passenger side, Martin can actually see out behind him again.
Yeah, there's nobody behind him at the moment, Martin,
No.
so he can just focus on forward and try and make up some of the ground. He just had his best lap of the race last time around, and he's certainly significantly quicker than the cars in front of him, but he's still got quite a long way to go to catch him. There is this battle. It's led by still Justin Price, but Cameron Castles is right there, and right behind Cameron also is Sheena Monk, who's just made the pass on Paris Mullins last time around.
10 minutes elapsed in race 2 of the weekend for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series here at Virginia International Raceway. Corey Lewis is your leader, leading from Jonathan Cicotto, 1.2 seconds separating the pair of them, and then Brandon Godovic is third in the number 46 machine.
And last time around, a new fastest lap of the race by our race leader, Corey Lewis. But as you say, there's still only 1.2 seconds in hand over Cicotto. As we see this battle again a little bit further back down the field, Cameron Castles trying to get past Justin Price, and Sheena Monk and Paris Mullins right in the thick of it as well.
Cameron Castles has been driving a couple different cars this weekend, and Jeremy, he's been impressing us every time he's been on the racetrack. I don't want to give him the curse of the commentator right now by saying that and then him throw it off in some spectacular way, but Cameron has done an excellent job at Virginia International Raceway this weekend, whether it's been in a Lamborghini or something with a little bit more downforce. He has been improving every time we see him behind the wheel, and I feel like this track just really suits his driving style.
Yeah, he's gaining experience. Again, he's relatively new to the sport, started racing just a couple of years ago, and yesterday, particularly in the Prototype Challenge race, he did a really, really good job in very, very treacherous conditions. Stayed out there longer than most on the dry tyres on a very wet track, and was running in the top 4 or 5 for a goodly portion of the race. Unfortunately, it was a full course caution at the end, which I saw him this morning. He said he didn't need that. He'd lost him a couple of places towards the end, but still, that was kind of a breakthrough perhaps for Cameron, and having a good race here as well.
It was a good race yesterday for Jonathan Cicotto in the number 1 machine once he got back out on track. The weird incident when that machine came in for its pit stop. Trent Hinman brought it in from the lead of the race, and then it stayed on the pit lane, lost 3 or 4 laps before it came back out. But Jonathan, whose first trip to Virginia International Raceway is this weekend, was putting in lap times that were very respectable. He's proving that he can do it in the dry as well, because his best lap time is only 0.03 of a second slower than that of our leader, Corey Lewis.
And the problem yesterday when that car came into the pits was the fact they couldn't get the right front wheel off the car.
No.
And they changed the other 3 tyres. They were on slicks ready to go, but they could not get that right front wheel off. So what they decided to do was to put it back onto the wets rather than send him out on 3 dries and a wet. They changed it back to wets. Well, that was not the tyres to have in the closing stages, because the track was completely dry. So it was kind of not a good race for that team yesterday. I'll tell you what, I've driven a car in those sort of drying conditions, and I came into pits, made a pit stop, supposed to go from wets to dries, ended up being a problem. I ended up with slicks on one side and wets on the other side of the car, which was a bit of a handful, but it actually worked fine, and I think they probably would have been better off yesterday by sticking with the 3 slicks on the car and the 1 wet. It would have handled a bit strangely, but it would have been a good bit quicker than it was. But hey, a bit of experience there gained, and Jonathan had a good attitude about it afterwards. As you say, they had a good run. Trent Hinman, his co-driver, had a great first stint in there. It's a big battle with Loris Spinelli. And right now, the battle for Cicotto with that number 1 car. It's again for the lead of the race, this time with Corey Lewis, who set a new fastest lap of the race last time around.
Wow, yeah, and that battle that we saw between Jonathan Cicotto and Loris Spinelli, the co-driver, the number 71 Pro-Am entry, currently in 2nd position, got quite feisty at certain parts during the race. We'll see 2.0 play out on track today if they get anywhere near each other, and in drier conditions, it should be just as entertaining as it was yesterday. Cameron Castles looked down the inside at Justin Price at turn 1, gets the move done, and Sheena Monk tries to follow him through, makes it stick. What an optimistic move from Sheena Monk, and way to make it work. That was an impressive pass by Cameron Castles very late on the brakes going into turn 1. Managed to get it slowed down, didn't even lock up a wheel. There was no tire smoke or anything. Brilliant job by the Canadian in number 33. He's still 4th in the AM class, but now he's got all the LB Cup cars behind him, and they are all line astern.
And hats off to there for Sheena Monk for making that move on the inside as well. She is now leading the LB Cup class, despite the fact she's driving with an injured foot. She heard it earlier in the week. Saw her this morning. She's hobbling around a little bit, but driving well in that number 7 car. She missed one of the Friday practice sessions on purpose, just trying to give the ankle a little bit of a maybe a bit of a recovery time to get ready for the races, and that's clearly paying off.
Now Justin Price is fully in the crosshairs of Paris Mullins in the car number 88, the white Lamborghini with Luna written on the nose. Makes it a little bit more intimidating and just a little bit more Italian that way to me, if that's even possible to make a Lamborghini even more Italian. But Justin Price managing to regain composure. He has to hold off Paris. Won't be an easy ask for that number 21 machine of Justin Price. Very much new to racing is Justin, but his longtime business partner, Ryan Hardwick, of an Atlanta Motorsports Group, of which you should go look on social media if you've got some spare time and would like to be envious of anyone else's lifestyle. Look up what Ryan and Justin do. He saw Ryan having so much fun last year, decided to come and give it a whirl himself.
That's right, and those two, they started their business, by the way, at age 19. It's now a big operation, so hats off to those guys, and they're now reaping the rewards and having fun with it.
Mountain Motorsports in Atlanta, Georgia. And as I said, Ryan Hardwick, with a lot of Instagram followers, I look at it every now and then and just shake my head because he lives the life that we all wish we could. Right now, Corey Lewis is living his perfect life, though, leading the class overall. On track in the number 29 machine, he still has just on a second gap over Jonathan Chicotto in the number 1 machine. Brandon Godovic a further 4 seconds behind that battling duo. And Stephen McAleer, with quite a good gap on JC Perez, is actually catching up to the leading trio running in the pro class. Good lap times from Stephen.
Yep, he's closing just a little bit on Brandon Godovic with well, each lap until now, actually. Brandon just turning a good lap there, 46.0, to edge away a little bit from Stephen McAleer. But as you say, McAleer leading the Pro-Am class and certainly pulling away from JC Perez.
In AM, it's Damon Oakey in the 09, the bright blue with the yellow stripes on it, almost like fangs on the front of that car, ahead of Ryan Hardwick in the black and blue turquoise machine, number 2. And then there's a battle between the number 50 of Taylor Proto, who quite easily gets around Brian Thenis in the all-black Lamborghini. Brian, who normally runs in the red, white, and blue colors, had a big crash at Road America in the first round there a couple weeks ago. Had to get a brand new car rolled off the truck, didn't have time to put all of his nice stickers and livery on it, and the doom that is brought with that sort of black, it's so intimidating and menacing. Worked for Brian yesterday, though.
Did a great job yesterday, great pit stop by the team too to get the car changed over to dry weather tyres, and he brought it home with a win, his first win of the season for Brian Thenis, so a really good run for him. And the number 50 car, Taylor Proto, as we see Damon Oakey there still leading that AM class. He is the points leader as well coming to this weekend. A champion in AM a couple of years ago. Took last season away from racing, but back again this year with US Racetronics and running very, very well. And that number 50 car is a teammate running in a different category. He's running in the pro class, this Proto, but of course had that spin earlier on, so he now is trying to work his way back toward the front.
He's still on a recovery drive, is Taylor Proto, and his lap times last time around, he was 2 seconds off the pace of the leaders. Of course, he's having to battle traffic and getting around cars in slower categories, whereas Corey Lewis, Jonathan Chicotto, and Brandon Godovic have to do nothing but look forward and set sail to try and catch whatever's in front of them. And for Corey Lewis, that would be the vision of the trophy at the end of the tunnel. The pit window should be opening here in just under 2 minutes, where we will see everybody come down the pit lane between 30 and 20 minutes to go. They've got 10 minutes of an opportunity to come down and get their pit stop done. And when they come onto the pit lane, you can check the tire pressures, but they don't change them when it's dry, because there is a minimum time that you must be on the pit lane. If you have one driver in your car, that time is 84 seconds. That is from when the pit lane speed limiter comes on at the pit in boards to when the pit lane limiter comes off at the pit out boards. If you've got 2 drivers, though, you only have to be on the pit lane for 81 seconds. That's not time enough to change a tire, and you really don't want to take a chance of something going wrong in the tire change, a la yesterday with the number 1 machine and the tire getting stuck.
Several other cars actually as well.
And several other cars, but so we will be seeing different drivers populating the screen, but it will still be the same cars, and it'll take the full 10 minutes and then a little bit more before the order fully shakes out and we understand who is where. Jeremy does a lap chart by hand, and it's even confusing then, because you start getting cars that have completed 12 laps when some have completed 10, and then you have to go back through and fill in the spaces. Don't know how you do it, Jeremy. I really admire that.
Been doing it for an awful long time, that's why. Plus it's fun. Corey Lewis, as we're watching here, the number 50 car of Taylor Proto trying to find a way past Ryan Hardwick. The 2 AM cars ahead of him named Oakey and Hardwick. Taylor Proto there in that darker blue number 50 machine for US Racetronics. He's working his way back through the order, but Damon Oakey it is who still leads in that class from Canada. Is Damon Oakey, and he is, as I said, a former champion in the class. He's had 8 AM wins over the last several seasons, representing the Calgary dealership, and once again looking for another win here, but he's got a lot of pressure from behind.
And the problem that Taylor Proto is dealing with right now is the fact that the 2 cars in front of him, yes, they are in the AM class, but the difference is made by the drivers. anybody can put their foot fully down to the floor in these, well, not anybody. In theory, anybody can. I don't know that my foot would actually go all the way to the floor because my brain would be saying, no, 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 don't do that. But it's a series where the AMs are just as fast in a straight line as the quote-unquote pros, as Paris Mullins goes for a spin and is doing a bit of landscaping off across from the pit straight, so that is out of turn 17. But the problem for Proto, he can't get around Hardwick and Oki on the straights because the cars are equally as fast.
Yeah, and fast is the right word. I mean, they're doing 170 miles an hour on the straight there. These are the fastest cars here this weekend. As we get a replay again of Paris just running out of real estate there on the exit of turn 17, going off into the pretty damp grass there from a lot of rain yesterday and overnight. But he's able to, at least the good news is he's able to get that car back onto the racetrack.
And he didn't hit anything, so
Yeah,
it's
so
doubly
even
good.
better.
But now, of course, both of our white Lamborghinis are together on track. We only have 2 of them out of the 14 that run white liveries, and they're running nose to tail right now, which means that Paris Mullins is down a lap. The pit window is open, and the first taker, and I can't say I disagree with this one bit, Jonathan Cicotto has come in and handed over to Trent Hinman, who drove brilliantly yesterday in the first race in very mixed conditions. Also in the pit lane is the number 46 of Brandon Godovic. We'll be handing over to Shinya Mashimi, the 2016 Pro Champion. JC Perez also comes into the pit lane in the Pro-Am entrant number 71 for P1 Motorsports. He'll be handing over to Laura Spinelli. So Spinelli and Hinman on track together in theory. That'll be fun. And Taylor Proto comes in the number 50. So 3 of our 4 pro entrants are in the pit lane. Eduardo Piscopo will be taking the 50 over from Taylor. Corey Lewis has stayed out, though. He now has a 9.6 second gap over Stephen McAleer, the Pro-Am entrant, and I wouldn't expect to see Stephen come in until we get much closer to the 20 minutes to go mark.
Right, and Corey Lewis, his consistency at the front of the field is absolutely superb. The last 5 laps all within, well, certainly within 0.2 of a second, 45.92, 45.90, 45.92, those 3 laps within 0.02 of a second, and the 46.01 and the 46.11. So really nice consistency there from our race leader Corey Lewis, who now brings that car onto pit lane, and it'll be Madison Snow to resume once their pit stop is completed.
Corey Lewis loves this place, and you can tell, you can see it in the body motion of the car, the way it goes through the corners. Everything about it is just to Corey Lewis's liking, and he will be reluctantly handing over the number 29 Change Racing Lamborghini. The good news is he shares with Madison Snow, another guy who has won here in Lamborghinis. You're looking at the 2 most recent GTD class winners at Virginia International Raceway. Madison Snow, who got pole and the win here in 2016. Corey Lewis's teammate got pole here in 2017, and they went on to take the class win both times in the Lamborghini. So they're familiar with how to get it done with the bull on the front of their car. Stephen McAleer has stayed out and by default is now leading. So the number 10 for Wayne Taylor Racing is our leader. Car 67, the day goes from bad to worse for the Martin Barkey Shea Holbrook entrant. They came in to do their pit stop, but there is going to be a penalty, a warning for now. They made a late commitment to the pit entry, and race control makes it very clear of where the car's body should be positioned if you are going to dive into the pit lane. They try to make it as safe as possible so people aren't weaving across the racetrack. Race control now watching that car a little bit closer, and given the fact that they're going to be examining the contact between the 67 and the 7 of Sheena Monk that took place early on in the race and turned around the 67, race control letting us know that they're going to check that out after the race. Well, now they might be a little bit less lenient.
Yeah, we shall see. It's the number 10 car there. We see Stephen McAleer out in front of the field. He'll be enjoying this. He will have been enjoying that,
yes,
as he now brings the car into pit lane. 25 minutes remaining in the race, so exactly halfway through, and he will hand over to Randy Saleri from Pennsylvania to finish off the race.
Very fair of Stephen. He likes to share things equally, so he and Randy getting equal track time. I like to see that. Ryan Hardwick, then, is our race leader since he has not yet come into the pit lane in the number 2 machine. An AM entrant just did his personal best fastest lap. Brian Thenis, who was in second, comes into the pit lane this time around. Cameron Castles, who was in third, we'll have to wait and see if he stays out or if he does come into the pit lane as well. But for now, that dream racing machine is perfect because Ryan Hardwick leading the race overall. He'll be a happy camper right now. Madison Snow is back out of the pit lane. We'll have to see what sort of lap times he can turn. Loris Spinelli on his first lap getting up to speed in the number 71. Went fastest overall through the first sector and then personal best through the third sector, and then personal best through the first. So wasting no time trying to get back to the front of the field.
Ryan Hardwick turning personal best sector times as well now in that car number 2 for Dream Racing and Motorsport. That's up powder blue and black. He's trying to make a bit of hay here while the sun does shine at Vir Ii. He was running second place behind the number 09 car of Damon Oakey in the battle for AM class. But if he can stay out now, turn a quick lap and then bring the car in, make his he doesn't need to make a driver change because he's driving that car solo, as is Damon Oakey. But a good in-lap here now could give him the opportunity to leapfrog ahead of Damon Oakey by the time they resume.
And the only car yet to make the pit stop is Ryan Hardwick in the 2, as Damon Oakey has come back out from the pit lane. Not sharing a car, so let's run down really quick the different drivers that are in the cars. In the number 29, it is Madison Snow now, having taken over from Corey Lewis, provisionally first in the pro class, and first once Ryan Hardwick does come in the pits. In second, it's Trent Hinman, who is right on the tail of Madison Snow after the pit stops.
Yeah.
Shinji Mishimi 7 seconds further back from that battling pair in the number 46. Has taken over from Brandon Godovic in the, as Damon Oakey goes off the track. Jeremy, we say something good about him, and he goes for a long spin. I don't think he hit the tires, though. That's just off of turn 1, and he's now doing donuts, trying to get back onto the racing circuit. It's a difficult part there to rejoin because there's a bit of uphill, and he high sides it, but he keeps it going. Good effort, Damon. Back on the racetrack. That'll be advantage Brian Thenis then. Did he have help? Oh, he might have gotten a bit of target fixation.
No, I think he just tried to carry a bit too much speed into the corner because he's out of the pits here, rejoining. He knows, or he would have been told, that Ryan Hardwick stayed out and he's pushing hard before he makes his own pit stop there. So trying not to lose a little bit too much ground there was Damon Oakey. Just pushed it a little bit too fast into the corner, went off the road, and that's going to cost him probably any chance to win the class again this afternoon.
Hardwick needs to pit now because the pit window will be closing in 1 minute and 40 seconds, and if he goes by the pits this time, he will not have another opportunity. Corey Lewis' teammate Madison Snow in the number 29, looking back at Trent Hinman behind him. They know this story very well, but ahead of them now, Shea Holbrook in the number 67. Lapped cars coming into effect as people have made their pit stops and come back out. And Madison Snow is going move, 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 as Trent Hinman is going perfect. Ryan Hardwick does come into the pit lane. He commits, so that means Corey Lewis will be our leader. Shea Holbrook moves over to driver's left. Perfect opportunity for the leading pair to go through at Oak Tree. Now they're catching up to Justin Price. Justin needs to make his line clear and not be a pick for either one of these cars. He does just that. Excellent effort. But again, an LB Cup car just as fast as a pro car in the straight because they are effectively the same machinery. Justin, I think they're maybe lifting off a bit to make it easier for Trent and Madison to get around.
Good battling here then.
Yeah.
And Ryan Hardwick is on pit lane, so he's the last car to make its pit stop. There is Damon Oakey.
Again.
That's the second spin, isn't it?
That is, at the same spot of the track, turn 1. This time he keeps it on the tarmac, does not go off-roading. Oh, but look at his grill, Jeremy. It's packed full of grass. He's going to need to pit to clean that out, or else his car is going to overheat. Ooh, it's like a kid with a bunch of marshmallows in its mouth right now. He can talk, but not very well and not very understandably. Madison Snow then, officially the leader as we are on lap 16 with 20 minutes to go. He's got just on half a second, little less than that, back to Trent Hinman. Then there's 6.4 seconds to Shinny Mashimi, and Laura Spinelli, who is running in the 4th place right now, is 17 seconds off the leading pair. I'm going to just make a mental note of that. 19 and a half minutes to go, 17 seconds.
Yeah, I've written it down as well.
I knew you would.
But Lawrence Spinelli, he is the fastest car on the track. He set the fastest lap last time around of 45.199, 1 minute 45.199. That's still a little bit away from the track record set last year by Trent Hinman, 44.1 actually. But Lawrence Spinelli is certainly the fastest car on the track. And Shinny Machimi, who's running in 3rd position, also is running very quick lap times ahead, or faster than I should say, the 2 leaders, Madison Snow and Trent Hinman.
Just need to wait for a little bit more fuel to burn off and for some less traffic in front of Trent Hinman. Give him another go at setting another race lap record. It would be impressive if he can get it done today, though. It's very warm outside, very, very muggy, almost 100% humidity in the air. I love it. Car 50, their day goes again. Not going to be another win for the Eduardo Piscopo Taylor Proto car. Had a spin earlier on during the race. They were short on their pit stop, the mandatory time. Post-race, they will have 0.7 of a second added to their time. So that means that they were, 7 divided by 3, 2.8 seconds roughly short on their pit stop penalty. Car 17 will also have a similar penalty enforced at the end of the race. A very, very small amount of time added to the car. They will not have to come through and do a drive-through because it was less than a second that they were short as Madison Snow goes wide through turn 3, opening the door for Trent Hinman. Trent Hinman goes up the inside. They're touching as they come back through 4. Madison with the advantage, but Trent Hinman right there as they go into the S's. Trent dipping a wheel off driver's right, manages to help him turn the car actually, and Madison Snow with the tiny bit of breathing room as they head up the hill toward the S's. That got exciting pretty quickly.
It did, didn't it? That was really close racing between those two. Absolutely nothing to choose between those 2 Lamborghinis. I think there's a little bit of rubbing and
there's some black on the white and some white on the black now. They've mixed their color schemes, but Madison just coming straight across the racetrack, taking a very odd line through 4, as now they're side by side coming out of Oak Tree. This is a drag race going into the roller coaster section. Madison on driver's left with a slight advantage. Trent trying to side draft him. They are inches apart, going 170 miles an hour into the braking zone. Who's going to give first? Is it going to be Madison or is it going to be Trent? Madison has the preferred line. Trent trying to go the long way around, makes it happen, and Madison hits the back of him going into braking.
Yeah, it's the preferred line for the left-hander, but the more significant corner is a right-hander, and that was the advantage that Hinman had. He was on the outside for the left-hand kink, but more crucially, the right hand of the racetrack for the tighter right-hander, and that was where he gained the advantage there, able to make that pass. Great racing between Trent Hinman and Madison Snow,
and super respectful between the two as well as they went into the Oak Tree turn. Madison just running a little bit wide. Trent took an inside line, and without that side draft, Jeremy, I don't think Trent Hinman would have been able to make the pass, because the 29 Change Racing Lamborghini has been the fastest car in a straight line all weekend, frequently averaging about 170 into the trap speed. Well, that time through, Madison was only 166, whereas Trent Hinman was 167. I'm not sure that I like the little bit of a brake check that happened there between Trent Hinman and Madison Snow when they got to the top of the hill, because it looked a little bit reminiscent of something we saw in a GTD race last year between an Acura and a Lexus, if you can stretch your memory back that far. But both cars managing to continue seemingly with no damage. And now the onus is on Madison Snow to catch back up to that black dot that's quickly disappearing. In the foreground, Trent Hinman, who felt robbed after yesterday's race. He drove brilliantly, and at the end of the day had nothing to show for it. He wants to make up for that today.
Yeah, so good hard racing, I think, between those two there, and it's Trent Hinman who comes out on top, and we'll see whether Madison Snow can fight back. We'll also see whether Shinny Machimi can close in on those two. With all that battling between them on that last lap, it cost him a fair bit of ground. It cost him about 3 seconds in total, so the gap from second to third now is down to under 5 seconds, and Loris Spinelli, who continues to turn very, very fast laps, is now down to 6.7 between third and fourth places.
If I'm on the pit box for the number 1 machine, my danger warning is going off because of Loris Spinelli in the number 71. Yes, he is in fourth place right now, but remember, cast your mind back to 5 minutes ago when I said there was 19 minutes to go. The gap was 17 seconds. We are now at 14 minutes and 40 seconds to go. The gap is at 12. That is a very rapid rate of closing. And yes, it was assisted by the two leaders holding each other up a bit as they were battling. But for Loris Spinelli, he doesn't care what anyone's doing ahead of him. His goal is just to go as fast as he can. And through the trap, the last time, he and Trent Hinman doing identical trap speeds, nearly identical lap times as well.
Yeah, Trent Hinman, though, having got that clear air in front of him, he's managed to pull away now. That was his car, that car's fastest lap of the race for car number 1 in the lead of the motor race. Stretches lead all of a sudden now to a better part of 2 seconds over Madison Snow. And fortunately for him, I think Brandon Godovic must have had a bit of a, Shinya Machimi had taken over number 46 PPM car. Must have had some sort of an issue on that lap because it was quite a bit slower than usually. Cost himself a couple of seconds, not only to Madison Snow, but that also enables Loris Spinelli to close to within 4 seconds now of that third place car in car number 71.
Just to fill you in on what's happening in the other classes, Ryan Hardwick has a 3-second lead on Brian Thenis. That's 2 from 17. Damon Oakey way further back after going for a couple of rotations in the 09, but he still holds down third in the AM category. And an LB Cup, Sheena Monk with a comfortable lead over Justin Price in second, and then Mark Proto in third. Those 3 cars spacing themselves out nicely around the racetrack.
Yeah, so Sheena looking for her first win in LB Cup. She's had several second places, but this will be her first win, and having got her first pole for this race, that's a good stride forward for Sheena Monk.
You know, Eduardo Piscopo has a shot of catching up to Loris Spinelli. It would be a little bit of work for him to get back so that we have all of the pro cars together, but it's not unthinkable, especially if
a long way back actually.
But if Loris makes a mistake, and we've seen a lot of cars sliding, and I mean, we've seen things like Taylor Proto making a mistake today. That was very unexpected from Eduardo's teammate. Trent Hinman 2.5 seconds clear of Madison Snow now. What do you think they said to him before the race, Jeremy? Said mean things about his mother?
Didn't have to say anything. I saw Trent before the start, about half an hour before the start, and he was all pumped up and ready to go, and super upbeat. He had fun yesterday. He was a bit upset yesterday with Loris Spinelli. They had a bit of a banging match out there, and he wasn't terribly impressed with some of what he described as European tactics, which aren't really the norm over here. But he said, rather than go over and remonstrate with him after, he said, look, I've been around this sport long enough, says Trent Hinman to himself. There's no need to go over there and make matters worse. I'll just stew on it, and everything will be fine. And it was, and he had a lot of fun out there. Led the race until the pit stop, which went awry with the wheel change issue. But he had a lot of fun yesterday, and he was really looking forward to today's race, and now we can see why.
And that's why he's won 3 pretty big IMSA championships in his young career, has Trent Hinman, a very smart boy. Captain America, it's fair to call him. He wears the stars and stripes proudly on his helmet, and he really is the all-American boy. Trent Hinman leading Madison Snow, Shinya Machimi in third, and then Loris Spinelli back in fourth. Loris, who's 1.7 seconds back, less than that now, actually under a second back to Machimi. So Spinelli forgetting about who's behind him and looking forward, trying to get around the red and black car of Machimi. Now this could get interesting, Jeremy.
Yeah, and clearly here Spinelli is much faster than Shinya Machimi. He's closed on a pretty rapid rate. Last time around, Shinya was kind of back into his stride at 1 minute 47.2, but now he's got to focus on making sure he does those sort of lap times consistently if he's going to have any chance of keeping Spinelli behind him, because Spinelli has closed up 10 seconds on the number 46 Shinya Machimi over the last half dozen laps.
With 10.5 minutes to go, the crew needs to remember to tell Loris Spinelli, this is for position, but not for the class. You already have a very comfortable lead in the Pro-Am class. You've got a win locked on if you bring the car home. If you bring the car home, don't risk it. Don't try to make the pass for third overall. There's nothing to gain there if you think you're going to wind up in a ball of carbon.
Right, but by the same time, there's very little opposition really in Pro-Am. So Loris Spinelli, he just wants to get on the overall podium is what he wants to do. So he's going to go flat. As we saw yesterday, he was giving no quarter to Trent Hinman.
No.
Even though in the early stages of that wet race, he was quick at the very beginning. Now he's pushing the number 46 car from behind. There was a little bit of that going on yesterday between Hinman and Spinelli, with the other way around. Once Hinman got into his stride in the wet track and began to close on Spinelli, that was what was happening yesterday. A little bit of a help from behind Hinman was given to Spinelli. That's exactly what Spinelli did there to Machimi.
Yeah, that was unsettling, the 46 car under braking. You actually saw the back of the car breaking loose. And I don't like to see that when you're coming into braking. It's just, it's a bit rude. And as you said, a bit European. It's not how we.
You know, it's hard racing is what it is. At that point, he's not slamming into the back of him. He's just letting you know he's there.
Yeah.
There was nothing egregious about that at all from my perspective. You should let him know, hey, I'm here, I'm faster. You're going to have to drive well if you're going to keep me behind you. But
and he didn't.
The pass has been made now, and Spinelli is on his way.
Yeah, Machimi dropping back to 4th overall, but still 3rd in class, so he just needs to maintain that to try and get as many points as possible. Not going to win today, not with Trent Hinman driving the way he is at the head of the field. 4.4 seconds now clear of Madison Snow in the number 29 Change Racing Lamborghini, and then is the charging Loris Spinelli. Loris with about 8.5 seconds, a little bit more than that, to try and make it up to Snow, and 13 to get to the lead. We've got 8 minutes to go. Do you think he can make it up to Madison and then make it up to Trent?
It was 17 seconds, as you recall.
With 19 minutes to go.
With 19 minutes to go. So I don't think he's got enough to catch, certainly not to catch Hinman, no question about that. I don't think he's got enough time to catch Madison Snow either. But has anybody told Loris Spinelli that?
Well, somebody has told Trent Hinman that Loris Spinelli is charging, because Trent Hinman says, no, I'm the fastest thing on the racetrack. Let me prove it to you. He goes personal best through Sector 1 and overall best through Sector 2. His trap speed, that time around 170 miles an hour. That's a very decent lap. The best lap for that car now, a 145.4. Trent Hinman, the fastest thing on the racetrack. Woo-wee. What a race so far. Ryan Hardwick with a bit of breathing room over Brian Thenis. His AM lead is safe as long as he keeps his head down. And Sheena Monk, who looks good to get her first race win in the LB Cup class. That pass that she made with the assistance of Cameron Castles earlier on, I wonder if she learned it from her driving coach, Catherine Legg, because that's exactly the sort of opportunistic maneuver that Catherine would make and pull off.
Yeah, it was a good move, wasn't it? She's certainly learning quickly as Sheena Monk.
Yeah.
And is making good progress here, up into the 10th place overall.
Trent Hinman must have no one in front of him, because he is driving like this is a leisurely Sunday afternoon. This is how Trent drives on leisurely Sunday afternoons, by the way. 10/10ths all the time as he comes up over the crest of the hill on the back straight, just slightly lifting his left front wheel as that happens, going into the braking for the roller coaster. So much fun is this track.
Yeah, it is, and these cars are really difficult to drive.
Yeah.
Madison Snow aboard the number 29 car. He's also driving, of course, in the Edmonton WeatherTech Sports Car Championship this weekend in a Lamborghini Huracan, similar to this, but quite different. And this guy is a lot faster on the straights, but a lot more sketchy through the corners. And it's really difficult to drive. So it's, you know, for Madison at this stage, second place points is good championship wise, and for the team, for Change Racing, in the battle for the lead of the team championship. So if he can bring it home in second place here, he knows, he appreciates, he's been around this sport long enough to know how to win championships, number one, and also to know that Trent Hinman, as the defending series champion, is a master of driving these cars.
Should he be able to bring it home in second and the 50, the car coming into the race today, come home in fourth, do you think that would be enough to give the 29 back the championship lead? Because in theory it should be, since the 29 yesterday finished on the podium when the 50 won. It would be a change of positions for them.
If the number 50 car finishes in fourth position and they finish in second place,
12
4-point
points
swing.
versus 8.
12 points for 8, so not quite is the answer to that. But
what about the point for pole position
it'll be
for
very
Corey
close.
Lewis?
For Corey Lewis, it'll be
Yeah.
just another point closer. So
It makes it a
But-
lot more exciting going into the next round of the championship at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, the
It does.
second weekend in September. Certainly gets people feeling more like the championship is attainable. 15 points for the win here, 12 for second, 10 for third, and 8 for fourth. Even I can do that kind of math. And Madison Snow by no means is giving up. He's just driving a very smart race because he is somebody thinking championship, not only in this series, but as you mentioned, driving the Lamborghini in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship as well. So Madison knows how to play the points game. He's a very savvy young man, having already won championships twice in the Porsche version of the IMSA Championship. Very, very impressive driver. Chasing Trent Hinman, a guy who's won 2 different Lamborghini championships and the Continental Tires Sports Car Challenge Championship back in 2014, the GS champion, the youngest ever, and still the youngest GS pole sitter. So Trent Hinman, a guy we've known about for a while. He's still a youngster by many standards, but a very mature and accomplished driver. With 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in this race, race 2 of the weekend from Virginia International Raceway, Trent Hinman wishing that they both had gone the way that this one has gone.
yes, ifs, ands and buts, but it's been a great drive first of all by Jonathan Chicotto to keep the car in contention. He was only about a second or so behind the number 29 car driven by the first stage by Corey Lewis through the first stint, and now Trent Hinman's done the job since then. But Cameron Castles there is being lapped by Loris Spinelli. It's going to cost Spinelli a little bit of a bit of time, but he's been closing about a second a lap on the number 29 car of Madison Snow. I don't think
Not
no,
enough.
he's going to run out of time because it'll be, I believe, the white flag. There might be 2 more
2
laps.
more? They're coming into Sector 3 now, Jeremy, so yeah, I would think that there will be 2 more laps. Trent Hinman crossing the start-finish line now. Nope, I was a bit too early. Sheena Monk
Yeah,
leading
too
in
much.
LB Cup. Ryan Hardwick in the 2 leading in AM. Laura Spinelli, Pro-Am leader. And Trent Hinman, overall leader in the Pro category. Really impressed with Sheena Monk's drive today. She's just kept her head down, done fairly consistent lap times, and done exactly what she needed to. But that pass was a flash of perhaps what's to come in her very young
Yep,
career.
That's her plan, certainly.
Trent Hinman and Corey Lewis now within the same camera shot again. Still separated by 7 seconds on the timing screen. But for Madison, that's enticing when you can see the car ahead of you that you're chasing and you can see it getting smaller and smaller. Madison's just got to be saying the mantra to himself over and over again. Championship, championship, points, points. Think about the bigger picture. For Trent Hinman, though, he doesn't care. He knows the only way to win the championship is to get as many points as he can. And in order to do that, you got to win as many races as you can. And for the 2017 Pro-Am champion, Trent Hinman, a bit frustrating to see the opportunity to defend the title in Pro pretty much out the window at this point. But he still wants to win races.
He does. And there's now just less than 1.5 minutes remaining, so it will be the white flag this time around. Just one more lap, 3.27 miles. Plus a couple of corners leading down the hill here for Trent Hinman and Prestige Performance and Wayne Taylor Racing.
The car with the number 1 on the side of it now knows it only has to make 1 more circulation around Virginia International Speedway at speed. Then, of course, there is a victory lap if that should be what they get. White flag is in the air and waving over the black and blue car from Wayne Taylor Racing, Prestige written on the side of it. Trent Hinman knows this circuit very well, and he knows that he only has 16 corners to go, and now 15, making quick work of them in his Lamborghini. Madison Snow still in second. Laura Spinelli 4.5 seconds behind Madison, so Madison's position in second overall will be good enough as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. Shinya Mashimi third in Pro-Am, and he's too far back to be touched by Laura Spinelli, and has a good gap over Eduardo Piscopo, so I don't think we're going to see any lap slap changes.
No, I don't think so, but certainly Piscopo is certainly closing on Machimi. It's down to just a couple of seconds between number 46 and 50 cars, so Machimi has struggled a little bit in this race, and Piscopo, having taken over from Taylor Proto at that spin early on, has been making good progress. He's going to finish in the top 5 overall, it looks like.
Hinman now sees Damon Oki ahead of him, the third place car in the AM category. Shouldn't be an issue though, as Damon Oki, a very heads-up driver, has a lot of experience, as you were mentioning, in these cars in this championship, and should be able to stay well ahead of Trent as he comes into the roller coaster one last time. A little correction on the wheel there from Trent as he goes through into braking. Wheels just starting left and right ever so slightly. He sees the yellow and blue car ahead of him and realizes that won't be an issue. That'll just block his view of the checkered flag a little bit better. As Trent Hinman out of Hogpen Corner, up the hill, over the brow, along the pit lane wall, will now cross the stripe and takes the checkered flag. So it's a win for Jonathan Cicotto and Trent Hinman in the number 1 Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini. Their second of the season. For Madison Snow and Corey Lewis, they bring it home in second in that number 29 Change Racing Lamborghini. Third overall, and our Pro-Am winner in the number 71, Loris Spinelli, who shares the car with JC Perez. And we wait for Shinya Mishimi to bring the number 46 car home in third. And he does just that. Excellent, now we can say. And Eduardo Piscopo home in 4th position for the number 50. Ryan Hardwick bringing it across the line, Jeremy, in the number 2.
Yep, and Sheena Monk still leading in LB Cup, but a great last lap there from Loris Spinelli, the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.007 as he closed to within 3 seconds of Madison Snow, but still 3rd place it is for car number 71 overall.
Here comes Ryan Hardwick to claim the AM victory, finger fully out the window. Number 1, yes you are today, Ryan. You are the first car home in the AM class. Well done by Ryan Hardwick and the Dream Racing Motorsport team. It's a good day for them in the AM category, and their driver in the LB Cup brings it home in second, Justin Price, but it is Sheena Monk getting her first win in car number 7 for the LB Cup contenders. The focus all on the front of the field, though, as Trent Hinman, with a brilliant drive after taking over from Jonathan Cicotto, comes home with a win. And Loris Spinelli will be pleased to have gotten a 3rd overall, but he'll be wondering what he could have done if situations were slightly different, if he could have made it all the way back up to 2nd. Lots of celebration to be had today, as all the cars that started the race will go back on the trailers with the wheels in the right direction. But Jeremy, who's going to be happier than others?
Well, Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto, I reckon, will lead by 1 point over Corey Lewis and Madison Snow. Just 4 points behind Snow and Lewis will be Godovic and Machimi. And with the win today, Hinman and Cicotto on 80 points, which is only 14 off the overall lead. So that's all tightening up, certainly. Pro-Am class still being led by Loris Spinelli and JC Perez after their Pro-Am win today. In AM, Ryan Hardwick will extend his advantage over Damon Oki with a great win today.
That's it from the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series at Virginia International Raceway. Join us in a couple of weeks as we go west out to California for the final 2 rounds in the American version before heading off to Italy in the middle of November. On behalf of Jeremy Shaw, I'm Shay Adam. Thanks for listening to IMSA Radio and watching IMSA TV. We'll see you next time.